super excited about our next guest. Documentary coming out there on from 12th Man. It's called the Dat Nguyen Story. Going to premiere on A&M Athletics website, plus the 12th Man Over the Top app that they have out there. It's going to depict his life, Dat Nguyen's life, son of Vietnamese refugees who arrived in America after the fall of Saigon, and goes through his entire career at Texas A&M and beyond. And with that, we go to the hotline. Dat is with us. Dat, good morning, sir. I'm not hearing you. I don't know if it's if your mute's on. Are you there? Still don't hear him. Trying one more time.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. We got him.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not a tech guy, so I'm sorry about that. I actually pressed a mute button, I guess.
All good, man. How you doing?
I'm excited to be on the show. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you, man. So, hey, I want to start things off with, because we were at school at the same time, although you look younger than I do, which hurts my feelings.
I don't know about that.
But I remember, like, this is how I remember you. You were, I don't know if quiet's the right word, but you were all about your business. But you would go to the rec center a lot and hoop. And you played basketball like a football player. You played a little physical. Do you remember playing basketball at the rec all the time?
I do. And that's what the time was, really in the off season, where we had a chance to go there after workouts in the morning. A lot of the players get together and go out there and just play. And we always played different sports growing up. And from a small town of Rockport, we had to play multiple sports. So basketball was my second love after soccer. And then football became my third love. But I thought I was always going to be, because I was growing up playing basketball. I was a good basketball player, but I was so much bigger than all my Asian friends, right? So I thought I was going to be the next Shaquille O'Neal. So I glad football crossed my mind, and I fell in love with the game. But I love playing the rec. I love the competition there. A lot of guys were some good players, and some football players were on our team were fantastic. The Warwick Coleman, the Trent Driver, Brandon Mitchell. I mean, these guys were phenomenal basketball players. They can jump and they can do 360s, whatever you can think of. Any dunk you can think of, they were able to do it.
Well, Dad, somebody actually texted the show earlier about you playing soccer here as well, how good of a soccer player you were.
I don't know if I was a good soccer player, but soccer was my first love. I was introduced to the game, really the first sport. In elementary, in kindergarten. My best friend, he's kind of a brother to me now. He's really, his name is Jimmy Hattenback, and he's a second in the family, but he was unbelievable. He was a dear friend. He's a brother to me with a different mother, but he introduced me to the game of soccer. During recess, we would go out to the playgrounds in first grade, and we would play soccer, and I fell in love, and they picked me up to be a part of their soccer team. So I was first introduced to a team sport in first grade. So I was very thankful for them to cross paths with them, to give me a chance to love the game of soccer.
Yeah, that's great. So we got soccer to thank for your greatness here at Texas A&M. So tell me about the movie. How did it all come together? Just kind of give me a timeline about all that.
So until 2019, Andy Richardson and the 12th Man production came up and kind of asked, hey, would you want to do a documentary? I think you have a great story, which, the story, it is unbelievable. You really sit back and go through it and you watch it. I got the chance to watch it with Ross Burek a few months ago. And it was, it touches you. You realize, the path that you went through, the journey. So technically, it's really the journey of my life. And I'm going to get to share that. And so Andy came and approached us and said, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have you as really the decoy, or not the decoy, but the guinea pig of this deal that we're thinking about doing for the 12th Man production. We'll put a show on, and then eventually down the road, we'll get other former A&M athletes or former players of all different sports, because everybody has a story, right? Everybody has a pen, everybody has a paper. We get to share that story, and you share your story, and that's what I'm doing. And I can tell you, man, it blew me away. And we flipped it on, just really the first part of the first 20 seconds of the show. Ross and I looked at each other, we were watching it, previewing it. We're like, man, we shook our head and we're like, God, this is unbelievable. And I'm just excited to share this with everybody, especially Aggie land. But most importantly, it's just it shares a lot of different stories in my life. I guess the inspiration, being down, disappointments, almost to a point where, you go through some adversity. We all through adversity, and then fulfilling the dream. Also have a chance to dream. So it's pretty awesome sitting back, but that's how it started with Andy Richardson and their staff. But man, their crew, they did a fantastic job. Chris Sable's on top of that too as well.
Well, Dat, your story is the American dream. It legit is, and it's just an incredible story. Like the documentary will go into depth, but give us a little bit of details of like your humble beginnings, because you had several different humble beginnings.
Yeah, for us, for me, really, when you come over to America, you really, I still remember in 5 years old in first grade, when my mom would go to school, she said, "Hey, make sure you stay with your family and stay with your friends, because it's all your family and brothers, because it's the only thing you can trust." And I think that was the hardest part, but just knowing that you just want an opportunity, I think that's the hardest. That thing that was really touches me was my family. I saw how hard my dad worked, how hard my mom worked raising 6 kids, and coming to in a country where you really English was a second language. You know, my parents now today, or my mom, um, even today, barely speak English. She understands English, but she doesn't really speak well. But it teaches you that all you want in life is just an opportunity, and the humbling beginning is always for them, right? They put God first in their life, and they came to America. We left our mainland for Vietnam to come to America because my dad wanted our family to have Christ in our life. You know, he wanted Jesus Christ to be part of your life. Go and unfortunately, the Vietcong was invading the South, and we left at midnight. And there was a little town south of Saigon that we lived in. It's called Ben Da, and a translation of that in Vietnamese is Port of Rock. I grew up in Rockport. You know, how ironic is that?
Wow. Wow. The other thing that struck me too, Dad, was you didn't start playing. You talked about soccer and basketball, but you didn't start playing football until your 8th grade year. Yet you were
Yeah.
at A&M a couple years later. Like I just can't fathom that.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? It's yeah, 5 years, right? I guess you think back now, it's real crazy, right? Like you're playing 8th grade, because I told you I want to be a basketball player, and then the guy that recruited me, he'll be there we're doing a show in this coming weekend before the release of the documentary in July 4th. But Coach Cliff Davis, he played at A&M as a baseball player. He really kind of was a baseball player, and he came out to Bear Bryant for football for one time. His story, he'll tell you the story if you run into him. But he played at A&M. Then he was on the Colt 45, which is the Houston Astros organization, for 20 years as a player, as an assistant, as a coach, etc. But he was my junior high coach. So in 7th grade, I was a basketball player. I wanted to play basketball. Wasn't playing organized. We didn't have a club or anything like that. But I was playing a little bit of basketball. But my brother and my cousin came out for football, and there was an annex right between the football facility or the athletic department and the school. So every time I had to go to my last period was the annex, and coach would go past, and he'll go to the facilities or the field house. And for 3-4 consecutive days, he would stand right in front of my last period. And the annex, it was a typing class. And he said, "Hey, why don't you come out to play football?" So he recruited me for about 3-4 days to come out. And I said, "Okay, coach, I'll come out, play." My brother plays, my cousin plays. He goes, "They're good. I think you can be a good player." So I go out and I said, "I'll play." And then all of a sudden, man, I go in. I didn't realize there was pockets inside the pants, for thigh pads. I didn't know there was the belt loops around the hip pads. Man, all this stuff was, another foreign language to me, right? So I go there and play the game, and man, I start loving the game. The game just became part of me, and I think when you get some confidence and you play, you fit in and you were doing something well. You enjoyed it, and football, I just enjoyed it. I just love the competition. I love competing. I love building up to a game, and it was just fantastic. And I tell people all the time when I go speak around the country, I always tell people the one thing that I learned from Coach Davis was visualization. And I might go long here, I'm so sorry, but it's visualization. And my first game in 8th grade, we had our pads on, our helmets on. We're walking from the field house to the stadium. Between the two buildings of the field and the stadium, there's a gymnasium. So we're walking. We can see family members out there at the field. We can see cheerleaders. We can see the opposing teams. We're walking out, and then all of a sudden, Coach Davis says, "Hey, take the left in that gym." And we're like, "What? Take the left in that gym?" So we go in there. It's pitch dark. He goes, "Hey, put your helmet on the ground or on the floor." So we put it down on the floor. We said, "Lay down, close your eyes." I was like, "Man, this guy's crazy, man. I don't know, the game's over here. We're about to play football. We're practicing 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We're about to get to play the game." So we lay down, we close our eyes, and I can remember he says, quarterbacks, I want to see you throw the perfect pass for that first down. Running backs, I want to see yourself make the first guy miss. Linebackers, I want to see yourself make that tackle. DBs, I want to see yourself stick your hand out, make that PBU. And we're like, oh, no. So we go play the game, right? So next Thursday, guess what? We were fortunate we were playing at home again. Guess what he said? From that field house to the stadium, take that left. So I laid down and I was like, we only had 28 players or so because we had to play both ways. We're a small 3A school. So I had to play run back, a linebacker. I was a punter, whatever. So I laid down. I was like, wow, I saw myself making that tackle for loss. I saw myself make that first guy miss. So as my career went on, the game of football, I go to A&M and I go to the Cowboys. Guess what? Everybody's like, how did you see that play? How you're so instinctive? I was like, no, I saw it last night before I went to sleep. I saw it in my dreams. I saw it as a reaction. The game of football obviously is a reaction sport. And I use it still now today is that I just visualize and see it before. And I think when I go speak to sales group around the country, that's what I tell them. I say, hey, if they have a question, you don't have the question, you're not going to get that sale. So I think visualization is the biggest part of my success in my career and the way it has shaped me.
Dad, I'm going to play that clip for my kids, man. That was awesome. Hey, let me ask you, like, how much prejudice did you have to go through being a Vietnamese football player, somewhat undersized for linebacker, yet always rising to the moment?
Well, I think, I don't know, prejudice is the word. I think it's just there was you were on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think growing up in a small town, and I think you watch a documentary, we talked a little bit about that too. It's that I think you felt it at the beginning in sports. I remember, our hometown playing soccer on the soccer team. And I was the first one in first grade. And I think in third grade or fourth grade, we had like eight Vietnamese kid on a 13 player soccer team. And I remember we won the championship one year and we weren't supposed to. And there was not one clap except the clap from the parents on our team and the coaches on our team. And I remember that. And a lot of my friends do too, but it made you work and things that you can't control and how people react. I think you don't worry about that stuff. And if you worry about too much about that stuff, man, it's going to kill you. And you would never have a chance to succeed or accomplish anything you want. So control what you can control is a big part of also what I always was taught by my parents. It's like, hey, you can't control other people, how they act, how they talk, whatever they do, but you control what you can do. And I think that really helped me, but it helped me also when I played. I remember going to Kansas. We were playing Kansas, I think our senior year. And I think we walked in the stadium and man, there was racial slurs, et cetera. It won't happen now this in this day and age, but during that time, we had that. But guess what? It just blocks it out. And I don't know. God just gave me an ability to be able to, hey, I can't control it. I can't worry about it. But deep down inside, it's burning, right? It's firing inside your chest and your heart. But you just smile and move forward. And that's what my dad really taught me, was that when things are not good or things are not bad or you're in a confrontation situation, you can always smile and walk away.
Dad, we had RC on the show on Monday. Just your thoughts on your relationship with RC, what he means to you.
Coach obviously gave me an opportunity at Texas A&M. And you know what's so crazy? Our relationship has gotten so much stronger, so much better as we've gotten older. And that's what's so cool about it. And we talked about this a few years ago. It's like, when you're a coach, you don't realize it. You want to win games, you go out recruiting, especially college coaches. You can't build a relationship right away because you do, but you don't, because it goes by so fast in 3-4 years that they're there, maybe 5 years. As for myself, but Coach Slocum and I, we haven't been on the golf course. This was amazing to me. It's like all the golf that we play, we haven't played. Oh, yeah, we did play in the College Football Hall of Fame a couple of years ago in Atlanta. But he has been unbelievable to me. And it's not just him, how he carries himself, how he is, how he represents our school, our program. And we all know that, how much we honor Coach at Texas A&M. He's almost, as important as anybody in my life besides my mom and dad. And I think what was great about Coach Slocum was that he hired great coaches, meaning, yeah, they're great football coaches, but they were godly men. There were people who I myself was trying to emulate. When I was 18, 19, 20 years old. I didn't know. I'm a boy. I was a young boy. And you're talking about humility. Everybody's patting me on the back and saying how great you were in Rockport. The best thing since sliced bread. And you walk up to College Station, you walk on campus, you're like, dude, all these guys were good. All these guys were great. These guys, unbelievable players, athletes. And for me to be in that same room with them, I was just thankful. And I think Coach Slocum hired Phil Bennett. He hired Tim Cassidy. He hired Mike Clark. He hired all these guys that were on the staff that I watch how they treat their wife, how they treat their kids, how they pray, how they go to church on Sundays after a game, win or a loss on a Saturday. They go to church. And so a lot of that stuff that what Coach Slocum done for me is really has shaped who I am today, because I grew up as a little boy, or a boy to a man, right? A young adult. And I think that was the biggest part, was that 4 or 5 years at A&M really impacted me and the success on the football field and all that. But that's just minor to what the coaching staff and what the University of Texas A&M has meant for me.
Dad, I'm going along with you because this is so good. So just bear with me for a second here. Cowboys, how blessed were you to play for the Dallas Cowboys in your state? Didn't have to go far, and kind of similar story. You had to kind of prove yourself.
Yeah, and it's what's funny is that not many people get to play all 3 levels of football in one state. And I was very fortunate, high school, college, professionally. And being with the Cowboys, what's crazy, I told the story to somebody the other day, and I was like, man, it was so crazy because the first mini camp that I went to, I was drafted the following week. They take you into Dallas, and you got to go to the training to mini camp. So we go to mini camp, and I played 50+ game at A&M, so I think I knew a little bit of football. And it's 7-on-7. We're doing about 7-on-7 drill, quarterback, tight ends, receivers, and running backs on the offense. They call the play, they go out, they set the formation. We call our defensive play, defensive backs, linebackers, and safeties. And we call our defensive plays, and we adjust to the formation, whatever it is, and we run our coverages against their plays, offensive plays. So halfway through 7-on-7, Coach Campbell, who was our defensive coordinator, go, hey, Dad, get in there. I was like, what? Get in there. So I was like, well, shoot, I play a lot of football games, right? So I'm running in, and I'm jogging in. I'm looking at Coach. So I'm turning my back a little bit to you guys. So I'm turning to Coach on the sideline, and you guys are the offense. I'm the defense. So I got the signal. I broke the huddle, and I looked over. It's like, oh, crap. That's Troy Aikman. Looked to the back of him. That's Emmitt Smith. Like to my right, that's Mike Irvin. They snapped the ball. I didn't even move. I was so starstruck, man. We play on Saturdays and Sundays. We go to church, and after that, guess what? We're watching the Cowboys, man. We're watching the triplets. We're watching. So for me to be a part of that team, and it's crazy going back to the story, right? Your family left Vietnam. You come to America. You introduced to this sport, and it's America's sport. And guess what? You get drafted in the National Football and play for the America's team. What freaking story? That's how crazy is that, right? So I'm just thankful and grateful, man. It's been a blessing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let me ask you about current A&M football quickly. Just bounce back year, man. We're all expecting it. We all hope. You've been paying attention?
Well, I not as close as I would like, but I think there's a couple of things that I would like to touch on. I think that's going to be very important. We finally have a quarterback. I think a quarterback is the most important. I don't care what level, high school, college, or pro you play. You better have that guy. And I think Connor is going to be an exceptional quarterback. Just watching him here last year, I think he's going to grow significantly this year. I think the receiver is unbelievable. And Stewart, then you got Noah out there too. That two exceptional guy. But I think the X factor is going to be Aeneas Smith, who was really a big guy that we lost last year. And the offense is going to be a lot better with him because he's just a dynamic player. For a defensive player to think about covering or defending a guy like Aeneas Smith, right, is what? He can run the ball. He can catch the ball in the backfield. And for linebackers, for safety, dude, that is the worst feeling. When you line up, you got, hey, man, this thing might be on ESPN in 30 seconds. So we have that exceptional player like he is. I think it's going to be interesting, see how the season goes. Obviously, defensive players you got to stay healthy, and that's the most important thing. And for us to have a quarterback, to have good skilled players, you're defensively I think they'll be better under the second year system, but I think you have enough dynamic players to make plays. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen this year. And every year is a new year, man. Doesn't matter what team. I can tell you, in 1996, we were number 2 in the country in the preseason. We ended up 6-6. It was disappointing. It's very similar. But guess what? We bounced back. Went to the conference championship game the following year, then winning it the following year. So there's a lot of excitement, a lot of similarities, in my opinion, what I witnessed this past year. And I got to really, I got to confess. So this past year, I was on the train, boy. I was on the jumping on the bus, on the wagon. I was never been before, because everybody knows who I am. I'm very calm and collected. I'm kind of even keel. So I bought a flag. I designed a flag. It says, man, Texas A&M 2022 national champions, last year. And unfortunately, after that one game, I'm still getting an earful from Dexter Coakley, my buddy, up here. But after that game, I had to take that flag down. I had to burn it. It was on. So I was a little bit disappointed from there. But now the next year and the year following, I think it's going to be some good, exciting football for Texas A&M.
Hey, so I'll close with this. Every answer pretty much you've given me, it comes back to your faith. And I think your story resonates because of that, the faith, and how the American dream all came together for you, playing for America's team the way you described it. Just close with some final thoughts with that.
Well, I think he's the truth and the life. He's the way, and that's for me. It's Jesus Christ. And really, I grew up not having that relationship. And I think I've grown here the last 20 years. I think it was 1999, on July 2nd, 1999, right when I got drafted by the Cowboys. So I go to the Cowboys, and we are living up there in Dallas, and I just got an apartment. So I called my high school coach, Mr. Bill Bailey. He was a shop teacher. He was a chaplain. And what's funny is that he had a truck. I didn't have a truck, so he had a truck. I go, hey, Coach Bailey, or Mr. Bailey. I said, hey, can I borrow your truck? I need to go run down to A&M, pick up my bed, my couch, and my TV. The only 3 things I had in college were so I wanted to move to my apartment. And so he said, yeah. So he came with me 3 hours down. He shared with me about Jesus. 3 hours back, he shared with me about Jesus. And I was like, man, that's when I accepted Jesus Christ. And you know what? The faith is a challenge day every day. Every day I have to challenge myself every day. And those temptations is, he's sitting right next to my right shoulder, all the time. But for me, that's the only thing that I am thankful for. I tell you that story, and I want to tell you one more story before I let you guys go, is that I was part of Fellowship of Christian Athlete. I was on the board of that as in San Antonio, and with Bob Lilly, the great Dallas Cowboy, the first pick ever in the history of the Dallas Cowboys in 1960 is Bob Lilly. So Bob and I co-host this golf tournament in San Antonio, and Coach Myers, who was an offensive line coach for the Dallas Cowboys, passed away. And he goes, hey, I want to honor Coach Myers, but his wife will be here to accept the awards. I said, oh yeah, that's fine. It's great. We'll do that, of course. So that day of the golf tournament, that morning, I usually come a little early, thank all the sponsorship, thank you people, shake people's hand, eat breakfast with them. And I'm getting a plate of food, and I look over, there's a lady. It's Coach Myers' wife sitting there. And so I noticed her, she noticed me. She said, hey, are you Dad? I go, yes, ma'am. She says, can I ask you a question? I go, yes, of course. She goes, Dad, in the late 60s, early 70s, I was obviously part of the Air Force. Coach Myers flew from Cambodia to Vietnam during the war. And I was a nurse, and I was there stationed in Cambodia with him. And by any chance, during that war, you came over to America in a shoebox. And I was like, shoebox? She goes, yes. So when the war was going on, anytime they bomb a hospital, all the infants were put in a shoebox, shipped to Cambodia so they can keep them alive. And I was like, no, ma'am, my mom conceived me at Fort Chaffee, Arkansas, when we got to America. And I was like, dude, if you tell you something that touches you, man, that's, in God's hands, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Dad, thank you so much for going along with us, man. This was a wonderful conversation. I can't wait to watch the documentary on the 4th of July, and hope to connect with you down the road again soon.
Thank you very much for having me. Gig Aggies.